Afternoon class, afternoon. Settle down at the back. Who's that boy with a cleft IQ? Thompson, stop it. Leave Dlamini alone. What do you think this is? 1982, for goodness sake. Welcome to Go Open. This week we go back to school, not for nostalgia's sake, but to look at how today's learners are being set free with open source. Here we go.
Open source software exists as a result of the combined efforts of millions of computer programmers, users and software vendors from around the world. They share their intellectual property freely, and they believe that software should cost nothing and should enrich the lives of users. Open source software is the alternative and biggest challenger to closed source or proprietary software. It generally costs the user nothing. It can be distributed freely to anyone. Download it, use it, modify it, and give it away. It's a whole new world. Open source is the future of computing.
Later on, we'll be taking a break to play with our noodle. That's right, we can all play with each other's noodles. It'll be a noodle fest. We'll be getting the skinny on thin clients. Okay, good. Let's move on. Kids must leave school computer literate these days, and to help them do that, there is open source.
For anyone leaving school, computer literacy is not negotiable. A school without a computer lab is simply not equipping its learners for life in our modern computerized environment. Yet by its very nature, a computer lab is expensive to set up and maintain, especially if you want to run the latest software.
We were looking to upgrade, and it would have cost us in the region of about 70,000 Rand to upgrade our lab here. Well, what we needed to do was to put on Encarta 2002 and go up to Windows 2000. And the problem was they needed more RAM and they needed bigger hard drives.
Keith Bosenberg is the computer teacher at Grooteskuur Primary School in Cape Town. Although they're an elite private school, funding for the upgrade was a problem. Then he heard about the Tux Labs project.
I went along, had a look, and they explained to me that you didn't need hard drives. You didn't need P4s. We've got P1s. And for almost next to nothing, we could upgrade. We didn't need to go up to the next operating system of Windows and so on.
The school refitted their computer lab for a mere 20,000 Rand. All the existing computers were converted to thin clients running Linux with a powerful server handling the data. The package includes office suites and educational software, while the need for an encyclopedia is met by the internet.
We use Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is a web-based program, and what's nice about it is that it's interactive and it's in Afrikaans as well, which is very big because our school is English Afrikaans as well.
At Hyde Park High, librarian Jeanette Long had a steep learning curve when she volunteered to upgrade the school's computer lab.
And then when the person who was running the computers left, I said, well, I'd take it over. Little knowing what I was letting myself in for. I started from scratch. I started doing an A+ course and got thrown into fixing the computers.
Jeanette grew her school's complement of 30 PCs to 140 in 3 different computer labs, mainly by using thin client technologies to keep costs down.
So the advantage for us is we can migrate old machines. We don't have to throw them away. It's less of a security risk in the classroom because the thin client machine has little value to a thief. And our terminal server itself is not huge either. It's a P3 600 megahertz, I think.
The thin client philosophy has also been adopted by Direct Learn, a company that has been providing services as far afield as Namibia and Nigeria. NGOs like SchoolNet coordinate with their governments to implement IT in schools. Direct Learn offer assistance with the implementation.
We use a number of different technologies. Open Lab is the core driving product that we use in terms of our work in Africa. Open Lab being a philosophy whereby, number one, it's about computer lab environment, so it's multiple computers in one place. And secondly, the fact that it's based on the open source philosophy.
Open Lab is a free and open source distribution based on Slackware Linux, packaged with a host of educational software and country-specific syllabus material. They have created a centralized management tool that makes it easy for a teacher to administer the system, and it's also been optimized to handle streaming multimedia.
In 2001, when we started our development, we knew right from the start that we would want to work throughout Africa. And our first opportunities really actually arose in West Africa, in Nigeria, where our partners there, SchoolNet Nigeria, suddenly said, well, in order for us to address this, an education system with over 50,000 schools, 130 million people, and the uptake being almost at zero initially, we're needing to do it with a different way. We're needing to take a different philosophy, and we like what you guys are doing.
The first stage of 35 schools has been completed, and the project aims to expand to 2,000 schools in the next 3 years.
Before now, people were talking about the fact that deploying technology in schools would be too expensive and you wouldn't be able to support it, and the schools, But like we've been able to prove that it's workable, and we're now expanding to many more sites.
In Namibia, progress has been even greater, thanks in part to nationwide wireless internet access provided by Telecom Namibia.
Our 300+ clients collectively give somewhere between 180 and 250,000 learners and teachers access to the internet on a daily basis. That is huge. It's massive. We have a very conservative, very heavily subsidized deal for providing internet solutions and access to resources over the internet through this relationship we founded with Telecom Namibia. And I mean, that for me is still the most important issue for SchoolNet organizations all over Africa, is to deliver access to the internet at affordable levels.
And in terms of government spend, in terms of public spend, in terms of, I as a parent at my school who has to pay school fees, and ultimately that's what's going to buy the computers for the school, I don't want to have to pay 500,000 Rand for a computer lab when I can pay 100,000 Rand. I'd rather spend that extra 400,000 on getting another good bunch of teachers, or getting more computer labs, or playing with other technologies such as broadcast or whatever they may be. We can't just say, let's make it cheaper, computers cheaper, software for free, etc., etc. We've got to say, maybe if I look at it more laterally, there are other better ways of doing things. They will see the groundswell, the massification starting to take place, where we have great technology being used by great teachers in our schools. And then we start to see things change in this country.
Great minds don't always think alike. Like, for example, me and the Teletubbies, we just don't get on. I don't know what it is. Anyhow, in the open and free software world, this is particularly true. Richard Stallman, for example, is one of the great renegades of this movement. He has some pretty radical ideas. He believes that all software should just be free, like Bo Peep's sheep. He also has some radical thoughts on free software in the developing world.
Right, Richard, firstly, welcome. Thank you for joining us. In South Africa, we have quite a big problem with regards to software piracy.
I really don't think so. Piracy is attacking ships, and I don't think that they do it with software. Sharing copies of software is everybody's natural right, and nobody should ever take that away.
We form part of the continent of Africa, a developing world. How do you see the free software movement assisting in the improvement of the continent?
Freedom is just as important for people in poor countries as for people in rich countries. However, there's a secondary benefit which is especially important in poor countries, which is because you are free to redistribute it, you can, if you like, make lots of copies and spread them around. You can set up a distribution tree. The developers of proprietary software are charging monopoly rents, each and every one of them. In Africa, most people who can get a computer can't possibly afford those fees. And so every school in Africa, when it gets a computer, should insist on using free software, because these schools should not be teaching people to be helplessly dependent on proprietary software. Bill Gates once said, the unauthorized copies of Windows would act to get users addicted, and eventually Microsoft would find a way to charge them. So schools should not provide Windows or any other non-free software to the students any more than they'd provide free packs of cigarettes to the students.
How do you see the next 2 to 3 years with regards to the free software movement?
The use of free software is spreading, it's catching on in more places. But at the same time, I see that most of the people who are talking about it, using it, and encouraging other people to use it do not talk about freedom as the reason why. But people who've come to recognize that free software means